Hello and welcome to the Denzalist Gaming Podcast. I'm going to do a top 10 list, and if you enjoy this, please share, because this is a new channel, so it's from the ground up again. So anything you can do to help, I appreciate it. But today, my top 10 list is going to be PlayStation exclusives. Reason why I'm doing these more than like other ones like Xbox, I haven't been an active Xbox user for about 10 plus years, and also I think even if I was, I think it'd be a bit of a struggle to make a top 10 list, because I think PlayStation incomparable has killed it with some of the unique and interesting games. And when I'm going through my list of my top 10, there's such a variety. There is a lot more action-focused games, but then there's, I've got RPG, I've even got a horror game in it, which I'm very surprised. And, so there's a great mix over the years, and there will be a couple of games which you'd be like, how are they not on the list? Like for me, The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 won't be on it for me. Nothing to say against the games, it's just when I originally played The Last of Us on, I think, PlayStation 3, I don't know if I got a bug or a problem, but I couldn't get past a certain area, even though I killed every enemy in the place. So I never came back to it, so I only got to a certain part in the game, so I can't accurately say how great that game is, because I never got the full narrative beats, because I got a problem with the game and I could never get past this one place. So like I said, maybe in the future when I do play the remaster versions, which are available on I think the new PlayStation service, the first one might pop onto my list, so we shall see. But for now, like I says, I've not put it on because I can't accurately say, because I only played a small part of it. Another one which might surprise people, won't be on the list, is Final Fantasy VII Remake. I know vast majority absolutely love that game, but there's a few things I have problems with. Firstly, it's not a full remake because they're doing 3 parts and then the integrated side story as well, and it's when you pay full price for a remake, you want the old game and not just one small part. And to me, either people like the narrative beats, it just feels like real padding to me, and the fact that, like I said, it just felt so linear to me, and even the side missions and things like that, it just felt to me that I was doing it for its sake and not for actually enjoying these side missions. Or I love the characters, I love the the graphical, what they've done to make the characters feel real and everything else. Do I think some of the voice acting choices are a bit ropey and very cheesy? Yes. And the fact that they've filled certain characters just for the sake of it, Cloud's got another love interest, just because, and it's yes, because they already needed another one after the interactions with Aerith, and even Tifa, it's do we need to put another one in? And like I said, I just found it very monotonous, and I seem to be sort of working my way through but not actually enjoying it. And I've only ever had that experience with another Final Fantasy game, and that was the Final Fantasy. What was it? Was it 13? Weren't it? Where the first one was like an absolute, like, you had to do like 2-3 hours of like this gauntlet, and you couldn't go off it, and it was just like very monotonous. And for me, I understand why people love the game, but like it says, what I loved about Final Fantasy 7 was that freedom, of exploring and things like that, and you can't do that in this part 1, which is just called Final Fantasy 7 Remake. So maybe in the sort of like, several years down the road, when they actually give you the complete game, which just sounds so absurd, doesn't it, for a remake, then I might be able to change my opinion. So anyway, I've done 6 minutes of rambling already, so I'm going to take a break now, and then I will go into my list, and then let's have some fun. So let's get into it. So my number 10 is Until Dawn. This was, I think, as much as everyone else agrees, was a massive surprise. I don't think anybody expected this game to be so good, but just hit exactly what it wanted to do. You've got this sort of like changing narrative, and all your decisions, even something simple as going right instead of left, or hiding instead of running, they all have a impact on who survives, or if any of your party survives. So, which I think is amazing. It's such a simple idea, but like I said, to have this sort of like, this sort of teenager horror, cabin in the woods, or cabin in the mountains, basically, storyline, but then have these little threads and these story twists, and hitting the tone they wanted. They're not after eyebrow entertainment, but was the ride you took with these characters thrilling? And did you hate it when the people you liked died? Yes. And like I said, and did lots of people like replay to get all the endings and things like that, even though because it is a fairly short game, but there's that replayability, which I think makes games. And if you've never played this, like I said, I think it's on the sort of like I think it's on, if you've got like a PlayStation 5, I think it's on that collection. But definitely recommend it, because I'm not a big horror guy. As anybody you speak to, I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to horror. But I, even though these are like, not the biggest sort of scares, I love the story, and I loved how it panned out, and it was very well, motion captured, and like it says, I think the company Supermassive Games, I think, I've had friends playing the other series they've done. Is it the Dark Pictures Anthology? And they have enjoyed it, but I think Until Dawn, you know, to say it was like the first thing out of the stables for this sort of like, you know, narrative horror thriller, with, you know, excellent, you know, graphics and things like that. I think they have struggled to recapture that, but like I said, I think they've still got it, and there's still enough people who buy their games. But when you've had a game like that, it's really hard to you know to get that hype. And it was like, you know, it wasn't just, you know, they've paid a lot of money and they've got the hype. It's like, it was word of mouth. It was like people saying, no, you need to play this, you know. And that was, I think, what was great. So that's my number 10. My number 9 is Bloodborne. The reason why I've done this top 10 list, because I wanted to put games in I've played, you know, many hours. Like I said, you know, games like Last of Us, I haven't played that, so I couldn't really have a full, you know, opinion of the game. With Bloodborne, I might not have completed it, but I've sunk, you know, lots of hours into it, so I can get the aesthetics, I can get the enemies, you know, and what they're doing, and yeah, I think it's a very good game. I think there's some things which frustrate the hell out of me, but it is, you know, from software games, so that's understandable. But yeah, the is it the Lovecraftian sort of style and things like that I do love, and some of my friends, you know, do agree. Once you get to a certain part, the sort of, you know, it sort of stalls a little bit, and I do get that, but it still belongs in this list just because I think of how much it impacted us. And like I said, there's still people to this day still talking about Bloodborne, and I don't know why they've not, you know, done a remaster or upgrade on it, because I think it deserves to. Even though I think there is, you know, some things which frustrate and I think could be done better, I still think it's an incredible game, and yeah, very enjoyable. And like other From Software games, it's great to, you know, find the secrets and a little, you know, exploring all the yeah, trying the places where you think there's a jump and you're like, oh no, I've just died. And then sometimes where you like look at a guy and it's like, oh no, there is a secret area over there. I'm like, oh yeah. And it's like, yeah, and some of that is very fascinating, and From Software do that very well. So yeah, so number 9, Bloodborne. Number 8 is Days Gone. This might be a bit of a mixed bag for people, because I didn't play this when it was released, so I know there was a lot of issues with, you know, graphics, bugs, things like that, and I do understand that if I experienced it then, it probably wouldn't be on my top 10. But when I played it, I think at least a couple of years after, it was, yeah, I found the characters fascinating, and some people didn't like the story, but I really liked the story, and the people you interact with, and like he says, and yes, there is a lot of repetitiveness, but a lot of these sort of like open world sort of type, like zombie horde games and things like that, you know, you are going to get that. But did I love the fact that the hordes reacted very differently every time, and you did get actually, you know, you did get tense and nervous when you got swarmed. So if you died, you replanned it. similar to another game which is going to be on the list later on. You know, you sort of went, you know, you got better, you know, more Molotovs, or you got more traps and plans, and sort of, you know, once you went to a certain area, you can sort of like, oh, I can feed these guys into a bottleneck and things like that. And I love games like that where it's like, you know, you've got your generic kill everything, that's it. But when you've got to like take out a horde of these, you know, walkers, or forget what they're called, freaks or whatever. I think they're called freakers, I think, in this one, I forget. But yeah, that you have to sort of use your surroundings, and like I said, you just can't go with like a rifle and think you're going to take everybody out. And like I said, and I love some of the narrative changes, because you think you're going down a certain path and you're like, oh no, that's a complete U-turn. And it's a shame that from now, you know, there isn't going to be a sequel, where I think the you know, now the twist at the end, it so much led to a sequel, and it's a shame Sony didn't want to make one, because like it says, you know, it would have been fascinating what would happen after that. So, but like I said, it's definitely one to check out. I know not everyone's gonna like the sort of like the bike mechanic and things like that, but I think how it was set into the story and the characters and the sort of like, you know, the outposts and things like that, you can sort of you know, align with and do missions for and things like that. You know, it was yeah, very fascinating, and I thought amazingly voice acted. And for me, you know, it did sort of get me, you know, emotionally, and you know, you understood, you know, the highs and lows of this you know, main character, Deacon St. John, and how his life got turned around from being a, you know, a biker gang member to, you know, in this sort of relationship which sort of changed his life forever, for better or for worse. So yeah, it's yeah, I think it's one of those ones that if you played for about 20-30 minutes, you might think, oh, this is just generic and things like that, but I think after you give it a bit of time and let it breathe, it really sort of yeah, it really shows its sort of its strengths. And yeah, compared to, I think when it had such a run of great exclusives, that I think when this came out, people were like, oh, okay. And I do understand that, but you know, I think that was more people putting, like, you know, some of the games I've put later, you know, in such a high level that I think the benchmark was so high, and someone was going to fail, and unfortunately this game did. But I think if you can play that now, I think, you know, you can take a hell of a lot from it. Anyway, this is going to be a long top 10 list. I do apologise. I'm going to take a break after 6. So that's my number 8, Days Gone. Number 7 is the Ratchet and Clank reboot. I know this was sort of linked with a failed movie, but this remake, retelling of the first game, I think was perfectly done. It really is. The combat, the weapons, the comedy, even the way that it's told narratively is just perfect. It really is. And like he says, and it's one of those things that I could play that right now and have like an hour or two and enjoy the hell out of it. You know, it's like some of the weapons and some of the and it is challenging. It's a challenging game at times. To say that it's this bright, colourful platformer, but like he says, you can sort of, you've got that sort of RPG sort of like perks for like your weapons mods and stuff like that. So so it's not just like, well, I've got a big weapon, use it. It's like, how do you want to use it? And that's quite clever. And some weapons like the Grievatron is amazing. And I think later on, if I remember rightly, it's been a while since I played it, you can sort of like turn enemies into sheep, which is just amazing. and honestly, it's like, yeah. And the new PS5 exclusive one is also excellent, and I think that's the shame at the moment is that's the only game which I think has truly used the SSD, to its full capacity, because that is it's excellent. Other than Astro's Playground, I think PlayStation has, they've been trying to sort of cater to the PlayStation 4 players, which I do understand, but I think people who have invested, at least like, £500, it's a lot of money for, people like us who's, on, low paying jobs and stuff like that. It's a lot of your income and a lot of money to put aside. So there's not been a great deal of exclusive true PlayStation 5 games, and even with like the new God of War, because they're doing it into the PlayStation 4, it's like they're not gonna like cater to what the PlayStation 5 graphically can do. So, but that's for another story, because this list is getting very, very long. But yeah, Ratchet and Clank, such a fun game, and it knew exactly what tone it was getting, and like I says, and there's so many different sort of side things you can do. You can and like I said. And also I like the bits where you can, you have to sort of switch between, there's certain bits where you do play, Clank, and you have to sort of like escape, a factory and things like that. And sometimes it's a little bit repetitive, but the same thing, there's some great little secrets, and for me, it just felt like the sort of, the classic sort of like platform enjoyment you used to get from like things like, Mario 64 and things like that, and like Crash Bandicoot. When I was young, these were the things I loved, and I think if I was a kid now, Ratchet and Clank would still, would be right there, honestly. Such a great game. So this is getting very long. I do apologise if anyone's still listening. Well done. So my number 6 is Persona 5. What a game. Don't get me wrong, it's a very, very long game to complete, and I've completed it. But do I love the characters? Do I love the the turn-based action they've got, and the main story, and the interactions between like Mona and Joker, and and the and all the sorry, I've got something flying above me, but yeah. But yeah, I love also the fact that you can make bonds with other people in this world, and like I said, and you have to sort of use your time, so you can either use it for studying to increase your perks, but you also need to spend time with these people, because the stronger your bond you have with them, the the more sort of like perks and skills you unlock. And it's like it was a very clever system, like I said, because it's not about having the most kills or being the most powerful. It's being clever with your time, and that's what I thought was very clever with it. Yeah, there's some things which do annoy you, like when it keeps on saying, "Oh, you need to go to bed, you can't go outside now," and it's like, but I just need to do that. Like, nope, you can't. But the characters, and also the the worlds and stuff like that. These, what are they called, castles, aren't they? Something like that. Palaces. So it's been a while since I've played it, but it's still memorable. It's like I still can remember a lot of the major story beats, the characters, and even like later on, there's like characters you join later on, but they're still so interested and compelling, like Futaba. Even like ones you don't really like, you understand them later on, like Makoto. Even though she's not one of my favourites, but you sort of understand where she comes from, and it's a very long game. It's very sort of dense, but there's different things you can do to sort of explore little side things. So you can do a hell of a lot. So it is real fun game, and also, like I said, there's some twists and beats I didn't expect, and it was done so well. So it's and some of the enemy design is messed up, and it's amazing. like literally, there's a enemy which is literally a penis. You can't mince your words. It's just basically a penis and balls, and it's an enemy on like a chariot thing, and it's like, and you're like, what? it's just crazy. But the enemy design, the villains you come across in these palaces, and also sometimes, like I said, they're not always like an evil person, but their soul, their heart's been corrupted basically in one way or another, and it's very fascinating. And also you've got these sort of like certain time deadlines you've got to to get all the way through these palaces, and sort of and win by certain date and stuff like that. So there is so you want to explore, you want to do the side things and things like that, but that also takes time. So you've got to sort of like you can't wander off too much, because you've got to do some things by a certain date. So that makes it sort of, you've got to plan things ahead, and sort of you've got to be clever with your use of time and how you upgrade your skills, and like I said, and to be at a certain level that you're not going to get be wiped the floor with. I mean, so the Persona 5 definitely deserves to be in the list. I would have put it in the top 5, but the top 5, it's very hard to knock any one of these games down. So anyway, so after 22 minutes, 10 to 6, I'm going to take another break. Like I said, I hope you guys please stay with me, because the reason why these are taking so long is because they're so great. They're such memorable games, and like I said, and a lot of them you're attached to. So yeah. So anyway, another break, and I'll see you soon. Okay, and welcome to the top 5. So number 5 is going to be Marvel's Spider-Man. The reason why I've not included Miles Morales is because I've not worked my way through it yet. But to be fair, I think I would group them together because I think, it's a continuation on the characters and the story, so I wouldn't call that like a standalone sequel or anything, more a sort of like an add-on, a sort of continuation of the story and the characters. So I love both, but I've not played Miles enough yet. But original Spider-Man, I think they get everything perfect. The characters, the sort of the time where Peter Parker's already established for some time, and he's sort of and the people he interacts with and things like that. You've got well-defined villain, and the web swinging is just beautiful. Like I said, the fact that you do tricks in the middle as well, and it's like, and the characters, MJ and stuff like that. Is it MJ or Gwen? I don't know. No, it's Gwen, isn't it? Yeah, ignore me. It's been I've got a lot on my mind, so don't chastise me for making mistakes. So yeah, so basically, yeah, and also I do love the Peter Parker that he said, he is older, but he's still got that nerdy, uncomfortable sort of persona, which is Peter Parker in a nutshell, and the people he interacts with as well, Doc Ock and all that, and yeah, I just think it's such a there was a reason why everybody was like, this is like one of the best sort of like superhero video games we've ever had, because like I said, it just got the characters so well, and it sort of the action, and it is very inspired combat with like games like Arkham, but a lot of people take those games combat, or Assassin's Creed and stuff like that. So you can't really put that against them, because it's such a fluid combat system, and different. And this is what people don't get. It's like, one which I think looks amazing, any other, like, if this was like EA, it'd be like 15 quid I think, and it's like no, they included that in the game as unlockables and things you can purchase, in game, not with like real money. And it's like, and people just think, oh, that's breath of fresh air. It's like, it used to be like that. You used to pay like 50, 60 bucks and you got the game, you got everything there. And it's like, yeah, and it's refreshing when you get single player games which don't have that monetization BS, and it is BS. It's like, just tell me a good story. So anyway, 4 minutes on one of them, so it's not going to be good. So I need to rush things up a bit. So number 4, I think it's perfect. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and it wraps up the Nathan Drake story really damn well, and the narrative beats with his brother as well. Voice acting perfect. The sort of, you know what to expect with an Uncharted game if you've played any of the previous ones. Is it over the top? Do you murder a lot of henchmen? Yes. But do you love the story? Do you love the journey? It's like closest you're going to get to a really good Indiana Jones games, because unfortunately a lot of them suck. So and it's just and also like I said, I think what makes that so great is that Nathan Drake's so relatable, because a lot of them you would be bricking it when you're in certain situations and stuff like that, and the silly comedy and the sort of it's I do love, like I says, I'd say Uncharted 2 is my close second, because how much that changed what was a basic premise in the first one. They turned it into this cinematic adventure, and like I said, and I think 4 just wraps everything up so well. There's some narrative things which don't work in timelines and stuff like that, but for what they achieved, I think you can forget stuff like that. And like I said, I love the puzzles, they were challenging. I love the interactions between all the characters, between Sully, I do not love Sully, but still, and it's like, and I just think it's one of those ones where, I've replayed it, a lot of it with my brother who's never seen it before, and these little references and these little callbacks and stuff like that, I got them all, and it's just it's so good, and it's so entertaining, so funny, and the action is really good. So that's my number 4. Number 3, we're getting to the nitty gritty. Has to be, I was going to switch between 4 and 3, but I had to put this on 3, and that's Horizon Zero Dawn. The reason this was such a game changer, because Guerrilla Games, they were known for what was the game? I've forgotten the series now. I've had a brain fart, I do apologise, but basically they were known for more sort of this sort of action, sort of futuristic, more like Call of Duty type shooters. So when they said, we've got an idea to do something completely different, and Sony gave them time to develop and a lot of time and a lot of resources to develop this new project, and straight away they've got basically somebody they've used in the forefront of their PlayStation advertising now, because Aloy is such a well-known character now, and it's all stems from this first game. How they show snippets of sort of her growing up, and how she was exiled, and she had this father figure, Ross, who wanted to protect her and sort of help her through and things like that. And then you sort of find how she uses the technology and like I said, later on you can sort of upgrade and sort of sort of get enemies to fight for you and stuff like that. This sort of like futuristic but also archaic dying world. Well, this world which has now got like green and beauty from these old sort of like, bland sort of industrial buildings and things like that. It's sort of you always wanted to explore these cauldrons and these sort of underground areas and things like that and see where all the secrets were. And like I says, and I think the main story is brilliant. Like I said, very good voice acting. I know the facial animations aren't the best, but like I said, I think the spectacular voice acting I think makes up for that. And like I said, I think narratively amazing, and the combat so challenging, and especially like, if you want to go on your difficulties or you want to do the challenges, the trials and that, like I said, they're worth doing because you get lots of good rewards, but they, there's certain enemies you've got to sort of plan, like I was saying with Days Gone. You've got to sort of plan your traps, you've got to work out what's your advantage, where's the best to set up on this, where's best to do this. And it's like and the combat can be very challenging if you just like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I've got my arrows, I've got my things, I'll be fine. And it's like, no, things can come, you can like, oh, come this way, and then the enemies like go completely other way, and blindside you. So you've got to cover that. And it's like, I love games which sort of it's not just straightforward, I'll just shoot more than the other guys, and it's like, no, you've got to be quite clever. And same thing, there is some repetitive things with the cauldrons, they do get a bit monotonous, and also the outposts and things like that, but the characters you build in this game, I think, sort of make up for that. And like I said, and it's one of those games I think I've not played for a while, the first one, but like I said, the story does stick with me, and also, like I said, I think the amazing performances you get as well, and like I says, and it's just this person who who basically possesses this supposedly like taboo technology, is the one who saves everybody, because she is an outcast, because she doesn't have a mother and all that, and it all links in with the main story. And it's just when you get to the end of the story and it just ties everything together, and you're like, wow, that's they've followed that narrative so well all the way through, and it just puts a bow on top at the end. And it's like, and you finish a game and you're like, wow, that's like very clever. And then they open it up for the sequel. I have mixed things for the sequel, because I've played a lot of it, but I think they tried to like say, oh, this world's bigger, and it's like, yes, it is bigger, but that's not what we loved about the first one. We didn't love it because of all the side quests and all the the things to well, we did some on the explore, but when you just like, yeah, but this game's like 5 times bigger, it's like, it doesn't always mean better. I still think it's a great game, but it's it loses some of that sheen, I think, off from the first one, and I think the first one's rightly so held in high regard. So number 3. Number 2, these two were tough, but I had to put which one I think I could have I think had the biggest impact and I could play any time, at any part of the game, and still, be enthralled in it. So my number 2's God of War. I know mostly it'd be everybody else's number 1. And it was a close run, but the number 1, it surprised me, and it was, I think, more impactful for me narratively wise. And but God of War, the way they set up the characters, and also the timelines and things like that, the fact that Kratos is trying to sort of like hide who he is to his son, who because he knows that if he finds the truth, that power might corrupt him, and it's very fascinating how this sort of like relationship from what doesn't seem like any sort of like love or interest in his son, you sort of learn on the journey that it's the opposite. But I think with Kratos, the more he has to sort of be more vulnerable, I think he thinks the more weak he will be, and the more susceptible to enemies and the ones they come across. And I love the the storylines with Freya and what's his name? Is it Boulder? Yeah, something like that. And perfect enemy, villain. I mean, and like it says, there's only one world which I think frustrates people, and you all know if you've played this what it is. But the other realms and the things like that are made so well, and the fact at the end of the story, everything ties together perfectly. And what I loved about this as well, you essentially like had this like main hub, and then later on in the story, the water levels change, and it uncovered other places where you could explore and get more skills or weapons and abilities and stuff like that. And when that's done well, like this, it was so great. And also like the lore, the stories they tell each other, and is it Mimir, the head who talks to them, like it says, it fleshes out the world and Norse mythology so well. And and it's one of the few games, usually when there's like audio logs or sort of like stories of like hundreds of years in the past or stuff like that, a lot of games you skip them. But this is sort of like the first Bioshock where all of them are so fascinating, and it usually ties in with the story or the characters you interact with. And it's like, it's just, it's such a great game. And like I said, and there's a reason why it's on everybody's number ones, apart from me. Like I says, for me, my number 1 is more impactful. And also you lose some points for that Valkyrie Queen, because she just broke me. I was like, I'll get the platinum, I'll unlock everything, and then I was like, yeah, did all the Valkyries, like, yeah, enjoyable. Last one just kept on kicking me in the face again and again and again, and you're like, yep, that's broke me now. Thank you, Gabe. but yeah, so yeah, you get a point off for that Valkyrie Queen who can just go to hell in a handbasket. But yeah, my number one, like I say, you're probably thinking there's not many games which can sort of top God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, or Tsushima. What can I say about this? If you're on about aesthetics, you know, the fact that you can sort of like take away the UI and you can just have a cinematic mode, you know, you can set a quest and basically the wind guides you, and it's just, honestly, it's breathtaking. It really is. And it's like the story with the Mongols invading Japan, you know, and that the samurai are basically, you know, being wiped out, and it's only like a few stragglers and people you don't know if you can trust, and you know, and the side content is just so great, and it also, because the thing is, a lot of the characters you learn on the way, you know, they have their own sort of either stories of revenge or trying to stop people and things like that, and it just makes those characters more fascinating. So when there's like major twists and things like that, you know, it's so impactful. And like he says, and the combat, it's difficult to master, but once you get a hang of it and you unlock certain skills and abilities and things like that to how you want it set up, it's like I said, there's not many games which absolutely, you know, you sit back and it just blows you away of how, like, you know, how this world is created and how, like, yeah, perfect and fascinating everything is all in this, and yeah, it's one of those ones which I do want to play again very soon, maybe a New Game Plus or something like that, if there is one. I think there is, but yeah, the and also the building of this sort of, like, you know, this legend, you know, the ghost who basically put, you know, fear in this Mongol empire, which looks like, you know, unbeatable at times. And it's like, yeah, the fact that you know, it's done so well, and even though there is repetitiveness, you know, with sort of doing these territories and stuff like that, because the enemies react differently and things like that, it never felt monotonous to me. And the fact that you could use surroundings, or, you know, depending on your play style, you know, use your stealth, and it's like, yeah, you can just play hours and hours and hours, and it's just, and you find from the opening to the end of the main story, it's just, yeah, it's compelling, and yeah, I still need to finish Iki Islands, but even that DLC is incredible so far, what I've played of it, and yeah, and deserves to be my number one. And like I said, you know, it was a toss up, but I think for me, Ghost of Tsushima just hit me in the feels more, and also, like I said, the relationships with his uncle, you know, with the people he interacts with, you know, is basically, it's very much like a Magnificent Seven, where it's like a ragtag bunch of people who, you know, join together to help you take down these invading Mongols, which I think, but even like them, they're not just like generic, you know, villains and stuff like that. And with the was it Genghis Khan or something like that, or something like the uncles or something like that, I forget, but yeah, but you know, there's so much sort of fascination with like the Mongol Empire as well, and them invading, and you learn more about them as well, and it's just, yeah, and some of the sit down conversations they have and things like that, it's just, honestly, yeah, it's so well made. And like I said, it's I think closest you get to, like, if you like action samurais stories and things like that, it does feel so authentic, and you can tell that they took so much time to get that sort of feeling of you know, of Japan and the, you know, and the times of war and invasion they suffered and things like that. So yeah, it's yeah, it just gets me more emotionally than God of War, and that's why that's number one. So before I going to list, if you've missed anything, this is my top 10. So it's still early, so I'm doing a stretch. So my number 10 is Until Dawn. Number 9, Bloodborne. Number 8, Days Gone. Number 7 is Ratchet and Clank. Number 6 is Persona 5. And number 5 is Spider-Man. Number 4 is Uncharted 4. Number 3 is Horizon Zero Dawn. Number 2 is God of War. And number 1 is Ghost of Tsushima. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you managed to the end, well done. Give yourself a pat on the back, because this one's a long episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and yeah, like I said, if you've got your top 10s, you happily send it to me at Denzalist, DNZALIST talks TALKS at gmail.com, and yeah, and just start a conversation. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Take care, look after your mental health, and I'll see you soon. Bye.